Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for The Real Deal with StudentProCONNECT. StudentProCONNECT is a social networking website and app where students and industry professionals can connect. If you are a student or someone looking to change your career, you will be able to find valuable insight firsthand from people in the field. If you are an industry professional, this is a great way to give back and share your story to inspire the new generation. The purpose of this segment is to provide the real deal behind what it takes to start and thrive in various fields. Every segment, we feature an individual sharing their story and providing us with insight. If you have not done so already, please sign up on StudentProConnect by going to our website, www.studentproconnect.com, or downloading our app, which is available both in Google Play and the App Store. Please also follow us on social media. Find our Facebook page and our Twitter page, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can watch all of our shows. Please feel free to type in your comments and questions during the show. Now, without further ado, I am very pleased for this evening. She is a brand marketing manager and has been in the field for over 10 years. Please join me in welcoming Susana Caceres.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Evening. So let's get right into it. So what is marketing all about? So marketings are the brains behind getting the word out about the organization's products or services. So that's kind of the formal definition, right? So they kind of serve as this intermediary between product development and increasing brand awareness. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, some of their tasks are monitoring market trends, creating advertising campaigns, pricing strategies, targeting strategies, just to name a few. And here we have a chart with some of the skills. So I don't know, Susanna, if you can kind of share with us, can you kind of break it down for us? What is the task and what are the skills necessary for a marketer?
I mean, this chart is great. It really lists all of them. But for the most part, just to really pinpoint it, it's all about research and being up to date and being able to stand out. If you're not up to date, you're not going to be able to market your product correctly. If you don't know your customer, you're not going to be able to market your product correctly. So that's really it in a nutshell. But it's all about creativity. It's all about being able to adapt yourself to your location, to the type of product you're selling, to the type of company you have. Anything, being able to put yourself out there either in person or online. So those are really the skills that you need to have in order to perform and market your company.
Okay, and here we see kind of like this breakdown of, hard skills and soft skills. Of these different skills listed, or maybe even not listed here, what skill do you think is non-negotiable? Like, what skill do you absolutely have to have as a marketer, especially in today's times?
It's really that the research. I mean, you have to be able to research the location, the target maybe customer that you're trying to get to buy your product or come and visit your event. If you're not able to do the research, you're not able to keep yourself in the know or know how to market your product more efficiently. So right now, I mean, people are researching, they're doing surveys, they're on Instagram, they're following their competition. I mean, it all comes down to the amount of research that you need to do.
Yeah. So, and I think that kind of leads into the next slide, which is we know career marketing can include a number of different roles. So these are some of the marketing careers that has kind of been projected to have some growth and pretty well paying, I would say, for the most part. So market analyst, promotions director, PR director, advertising manager, and brand manager, which is what you are. I guess with all these, I guess research would be across the board in terms of
Oh,
similarity here.
correct. And a brand marketing manager does a little bit of each of these roles. Um,
Mhm,
where our main role is to protect the overall image of a brand, whether
mhm,
it is a product or whether it is a company overall or it's a service that you're trying to offer. That
mhm.
is our main job.
Okay. So it's a little bit of everything when you reach that brand manager.
Right. It's you have to have skills in each of these roles.
Okay. Okay. Into the growth opportunity. So this is definitely important for someone who is interested in marketing and wants to know, is there an opportunity here? So some statistics here, marketing managers in overall employment, I would say, is projected to grow 6%. Through 2029. So there's definitely some growth potential here. What are you seeing in the market?
I'm seeing especially, well, considering this past year, I mean, there's definitely everyone has taken their marketing strategies definitely to they've held them to the highest standards because it's the only thing they've had to rely on, especially
Mhm,
now that everything has gone digital. I
mhm,
definitely think that there's growth opportunities. And like I said earlier, there isn't just marketing just for a product. There's marketing for finance companies. Um,
mhm.
there's marketing for construction companies. I mean, it's really sky's the limit when it comes to a role in marketing. I mean, you can either work for a PR firm or you can work for a
Mhm.
advertising company. I mean, it's there's so many different roles, so that's why I think that the growth is so high.
That's a really great point that you make. And I think, I like that you mentioned all these different industries. All of these industries need marketing. So that within itself, there's a demand across the board
Right.
in every industry. So, it doesn't matter what sector you want to go to, they're going to need marketing
Correct.
somewhere.
Correct. Again, if you can work for an insurance company. They have a marketing department. All those
Exactly.
commercials you see, I mean, that doesn't just someone is responsible for coming up with that marketing campaign, and the reason
Yeah.
why people find themselves repeating them all the time. But there is a complete department at an insurance company that comes up with all of that.
Yeah, and I also like the fact that you brought up the digital side too, with everything that's happened. Do you think that the whole digital thing that has taken place, across the board as we've all experienced, do you think that that has also added to the growth in the field?
Of course, I even think there's more of a need for professionals that have more of those digital skills. You know,
Hmm.
a lot of people have just maybe had experience with advertising in print,
Hmm.
in magazines. As we know, magazines there aren't that many anymore.
Hmm.
Now everyone is subscribing to an e-magazine,
Hmm.
or they have their favorite uh, blogs that they like to read. So
Exactly.
even there's even more of a need for professionals in marketing that have those digital skills.
Skills. Okay. Great. So let's go into your story.
My
So
story.
your journey. So you did your Bachelor of Arts in Psychology. So please explain to us, how did you end up in marketing from a psychology degree?
Yeah, so initially I wanted to be a psychologist initially, but then I, of course, had to get a job and survive. So I started doing all types of different things,
Mhm.
nothing having to do with psychology.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I I was working a little bit too far from my house, so I
Mhm.
wanted a job closer, and this opportunity opened up for an administrative role at a
Okay.
real estate company, so which is the one I work for now. So I took the role, and I actually work for a trade show. So,
Wow.
we market this trade show twice a year.
Mhm,
And I was doing, administrative work, which was reception, filing, creating different memos and things like that. And
mhm,
I could have very well stayed in that role. I could have moved to another company. There
mhm,
is a huge misconception about admin roles.
mhm.
It's not just answering a
Yeah.
phone. It is so much more. I mean, you can really turn it into an amazing career. And
Mhm,
a lot of executives take their executive assistants along with them to new,
mhm,
new companies.
mhm.
So it just depends. I mean, I would never. I always think that those roles sometimes are downplayed a little bit, but they really shouldn't be. It's a great entry level role, and like I said, it can turn out to be a really amazing career.
So
But
that's a great point. I think that's really important that, and we're going to re-emphasize that. But just going back, so you mentioned that after you graduated, you actually ended up taking a lot of roles that really had nothing to do with psychology. Now, was
correct,
that by choice, or is this kind of like that's what you found? So you just,
that's what I found, and I was just
yeah.
forced to, having to be on my own. Um,
Mhm.
I just wanted, a paying job and definitely that
Yes.
experience. I
I
mean,
think so
experience
many
really
people
pays so
listening.
much.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think just for the experience alone,
Yeah.
I think it was worth it to me. I wasn't too sure really, there's so many different fields in psychology, what exactly I wanted to do.
Hmm.
But just to have that work experience, I mean, I had to get out there. I had no
Got
choice.
it. Got it. So it kind of, and I think you speak for so many people out there that, when you come out of college, you just want a job, you just graduate and land a position somewhere, not necessarily in your field. And I think a lot of, students these days, they can relate to that,
Yep,
it's, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I wish there would have been more, programs like this, like StudentProCONNECT, that you
Mhm.
could have listened to. Maybe there should have been more networking events, or maybe they were, and I had too many things, maybe like jobs or things that I had to do that it took me away from that.
Mhm.
But maybe something like this, where there would be people your age, real professionals, so a
Mhm.
place you can network and be comfortable to maybe ask questions of, maybe people in your field. I
Exactly.
wish there had been something more like this, but just with real life, I had to get that work experience, which I'm
Yeah.
happy I did because I learned so much.
Yeah.
Um, and now I am, I've ended up at this other position that I really love.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that's, again, going back to your point, I think it's amazing. I mean, you were an administrative assistant for 9 years, and then you moved into this brand marketing manager role. But one thing that you just pointed out, in those 9 years, you basically had so much exposure, right?
right.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Of
And I think
course.
you started talking about that misconception. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So, like I said, there's that misconception that, an administrative assistant is only answering phones. That is not true. You are
Mhm.
managing calendars, you are creating expense reports, you are sitting in meetings, listening to what executives are saying. I mean, you really play a lot of different roles and wear a lot of different hats. So, because of
Mhm.
that, I was exposed to a lot of the customers that now I, get to talk to every day, a lot of different executives, I was involved in everything that had to do with the advertising. I just wasn't making any decisions. So I
Mhm.
that time and I learned a lot. And I
Mhm.
asked a lot of questions, and in our industry there are a lot of different events. So I was able to attend
Mhm.
and learn from other people. So that's
Mhm.
why I feel really lucky that I was able to have all that time to
Yeah,
learn.
and I think that's remarkable. And I think for a lot of people right now who are thinking about entering the field, I mean, you automatically think you have to have a certain title, but sometimes just going in an administrative position allows you to learn a lot and be have better, be able to learn more skills will prepare you for the role that you eventually will want or have down the line.
Right. I mean,
Um,
administrative assistants can go into an operations role, which is
yeah.
a person that deals with all type of logistics, you know,
Hmm.
moving, moving offices, or, shipping, anything like that. Um,
Hmm.
are all these really important skills that not everybody has, but you can
Yeah.
learn them
Yeah.
when you're in these types of roles.
Got it. And then you mentioned that you work for a trade show. So what does that mean? I think a lot of us are like, what is that? Like, what?
So a trade show is, I guess to keep it simple, it's almost like going to a car show where you can go where companies go and buy cars.
Mhm.
Um, so here at the trade show where I work is called the New York Tabletop Show, and it's twice
Mhm.
a year.
Mhm.
And stores like Bloomingdale's and Macy's, Crate and Barrel, they all come and do their shopping. So they buy in bulk,
Mm.
and that's how the stores get filled up. And my job is to market those two shows a year, basically send emails, send e-blasts to invite them to the show, to remind them of the dates, to let them
Mhm.
know our protocols, to promote the brands that we have. I'm
Mhm.
all those glasses, all anything that has to do with anything you put on the table that's at Crate and Barrel probably came out of the New York
Wow.
show. So it's a really daunting task,
Mhm.
because these are all things that we all buy. I mean, we
Mhm.
all may go to a Macy's, we all may go to a Bloomingdale's. So it's fascinating to see how a buyer from Bloomingdale's comes to our trade show and go
Mhm.
shopping.
Mhm. So in yours, you're actually doing what we call, I guess, like business to business. It's not even business to a consumer.
Correct, correct.
Wow.
It's been-
So that's a whole nother side of marketing that I think a lot of people don't even realize. We always think it's to
yeah,
consumers buying in a store, but you're kind
right.
of behind the scenes marketing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. All right, let's go get into the real deal. So, first and foremost, what would you have done differently?
Let's see. For starters, I was in this admin role for 9 years. I always kind of tell myself, like looking back, I should never be complacent again. I think it's always good to challenge yourself. And I probably should have entered this marketing role a lot sooner. I
Mm,
probably got too scared, and sometimes that happens. Sometimes we get scared. We have this fear that we don't want to lose that comfort zone. So
mhm,
that's just my advice, is just after 2 to 3 years, challenge yourself. Maybe there's
mm,
another role, maybe financially would make more sense. But just for me, that's how my mindset is going forward, not to be complacent and
I
to
think that's
challenge.
really great advice. I think that's really great advice. Like you said, if you had gone back, you probably would have tried to go sooner. Even though I think being in that administrative role, you probably learned a lot, which helped
Definitely.
you to where you are today. But I guess being, I guess, more daring, I guess, is what you're saying.
There's always this fear that change is negative, but actually
Yes.
change might be the
Yes.
best thing that ever happens to you.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so just going forward, even though I
Yeah.
love my position now I'm trying to see how can I change it to make it better.
Yeah.
So I
That's
have,
that's really
and
great.
it's part of the marketing field. You always have to be forward thinking. So
Hmm.
I'm constantly thinking, how can we do things differently?
Hmm. I think also listening to you, do you think that if you had entered this role that you're in now earlier, do you think that it would have been harder?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely think it would have been a lot harder.
Okay.
I kind of entered at the right time, where as a brand ourselves, we were completely, changing.
Hmm.
So we both changed together in a way. So I came into the position, and our brand took a new look. So
Hmm.
I was able to kind of take something fresh and
Hmm.
move with it.
Okay, great. Now, did you have any mentors along the way?
I've had a lot of unofficial mentors.
Hmm.
I actually listened to an earlier Student Pro Connect where somebody had said that you should have a board,
Mhm,
and it's a group of people that you can bounce ideas off of or ask for advice. And just
mhm,
along my journey, I've come across a few people that I consider mentors. I mean, they could have been in the creative field,
mhm,
or they could have been friends or colleagues that I've just met along the way.
mhm,
That have really taught me some valuable lessons. And
mhm,
again, another piece of advice, I know no one's asking for it,
mhm,
but I think sometimes we have this fear that we don't want to put ourselves out there, but
mhm,
there's no such thing as a stupid question. There's,
mhm.
you'd never be scared of asking for help because that's how you learn.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
thanks to these mentors, I've been able to do my job a lot better.
And I like the way you kind of define mentors. It's like you said, they were unofficial mentors. A mentor doesn't have to be one person, right? It can
Right.
be anybody that makes an impact,
Yeah.
right, on you.
Yeah. I mean,
And
somebody you
then,
may want to
yeah,
mimic, you may want to mimic someone's organizational skills
exactly.
or someone's time management skills, which are two
Yeah,
very important things that that every professional should have, but some, are prefer to do things later, in the day, and other people are
exactly.
very unorganized. So,
Exactly.
but again, it's putting yourself out there, because if you don't put yourself
Yes,
out there, you're not even going to be able to meet a mentor.
exactly. Exactly. What are some of the biggest misconceptions? So we talked about one already regarding
Yeah,
being an
about
administrative assistant.
right.
Yeah.
And then there is another one. There's this misconception that, professionals that work in PR or advertising or marketing have these, really glamorous lives, and
Mhm.
it's all, creative, and we're all like, going to parties and having fun. And yes, that is all true.
Mhm.
Um, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of
Mhm.
research. It's a lot of behind the scenes things, which
Mhm.
turn out to be really fun, but you have to put in the legwork. So I think there's that misconception that it's all glamour, but in reality, it is all of that,
Mhm.
but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and I was gonna ask about
Have
that
to
too.
be so you
Yeah.
have to be willing to put in the time. Some events are on the weekends.
Mhm.
A lot of jobs in PR, they're on Saturday nights. I mean,
Mhm.
they're during the week. They end really late. So that's the part of the job where, you have to be willing to put in the time. I mean, Instagram posts may get there because there's now all types of like calendars that you can set up, but
Mhm.
there's a person that puts all that together. So that
Exactly.
person might have to go after an event that ends at 9 o'clock and go back to the office and do all
The
that.
office.
So
Wow.
it's a lot of there's that misconception, you're always having fun, but in reality, there's a whole team that's probably working after your event to market
Mhm.
it. So that's a big one.
Yeah. And I think I was gonna ask too. So your hours can be you have to be very flexible. So you can work
Correct.
really long hours, certain periods of time, especially when it's close to events. So you
Right.
have to be very flexible.
Right. So like for our trade show, a month before we are putting in longer hours, and the weeks of the event, we are
Hmm.
definitely putting in even longer hours.
Hmm. Okay. What would you say is most challenging about the role?
I think even more the most challenging, at least for me, is that we live in a digital world, and
Hmm.
just on a positive side, it's helped so many companies. I mean, it's really been
Hmm.
like a game changer. But
Hmm.
I feel like since everything is digital, I mean, we've kind of lost that personal touch.
Hmm.
So I find it really challenging because if you think about it, we're already behind. There's
Hmm.
only so many hours in the day where you can be scrolling online. Um,
Exactly.
so that's become challenging. So we've just have to find ways to make things a little bit more personal. Um,
Exactly.
maybe writing handwritten notes. I don't think that those have gone away. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I just think companies have decided they don't need to do that anymore. But I
Mm-hmm.
think that will separate you from everybody else because
Got it.
maybe an email could be a little impersonal these days.
Yeah, I think that's a great
On it, don't-
point. And I think it's almost like you're going traditional in order to stand out.
Correct.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I feel like that's going to be a trend that we're going to see. I mean, I still get catalogs from all types of, gift shops and things like that. And that has not gone out of style. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think we're so overwhelmed with the digital world that sometimes it could be a little exhausting.
Exactly. I think a lot of us feel that way, especially with Zoom,
Yeah,
Zoom
or
fatigue. Yeah. What would
definitely.
you say is the biggest reward for you in this role or in the field?
Well, for me, and just in this particular role, whenever we come up with a new idea or a new like program and to see customers happy that, things kind of worked out because of our programs, that's
Mm-hmm.
really the biggest reward for me because in the end, you want to make your customer happy. So if
Mm-hmm.
the customer's not happy, that means you haven't done your job.
And I think
So
that makes me ask the question, I guess, how do you know you're successful? Like, what is that measure of success for you?
for us, it's when we have a trade show and
Mm-hmm.
there isn't any room in the elevators because we're in
Mm-hmm.
a traditional New York City building. When there's crowds, I mean, you just
Mm-hmm.
know that we know that buyers want to come and shop here. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's how we can gauge whether we've been successful. And afterwards, we can see, customers will tell us if they placed any orders. I mean, those are really what we use to measure the success.
Mm-hmm. And I think you mentioned just now, having crowds, and that makes me ask the question, how has it changed? Because especially with the pandemic,
Right,
how
right.
has that
So
affected the trade shows?
I mean, definitely, it's affected travel. For the past year. We've had maybe from 3,000 people down to 400 people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
um, before the pandemic, maybe a Wayfair would send 60 buyers. This
Mm-hmm.
time around, they may only send 6.
Mm-hmm.
So that's definitely changed, but we're going to take that change and turn it into a positive. I mean, it may be an opportunity to meet them this time. It
Mm-hmm.
may be an opportunity to offer them something, offer them lunch. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to try to make this kind of work for us.
Got
Um,
it.
and it's also changed because our show has had to have a digital component. So
Mm-hmm.
we still have to have because now today you have to exist on every channel. So you need to be
Mm-hmm.
in person, you need to be in print, and you need to be online. So that's really what's changed.
Okay. Now, has it hurt? I guess, has it impacted your role at all in terms of, I mean, have your hours had to be cut or have you felt it in your role? Like,
Definitely felt it just because, you're not able to keep in touch. I mean, you can keep in touch like via email, but
mm-hmm,
since we usually travel, we go to other trade shows to see our
mm-hmm,
customers.
mm-hmm,
Um, we're not able to travel. We're not able to really see them in person and see what's new.
mm-hmm.
You can call someone so many times, you can email them, but it's not the same.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the amount of times the phone rings has definitely gone, down. Um,
exactly.
but it's slowly picking back up. We have lost a few um, customers just because they've had to um, close their company or
Mm-hmm,
really downsize. So that's been, a shame. But at the
mm-hmm.
same time, I think that just means that there's just room for growth.
Oh, that leads right into my next question. So love it. That
Yeah,
flowed very nicely.
that means it's just room for growth. That means that
Yeah,
brands and companies overall need to
yeah,
change and strategize and
yeah.
um, maybe partner. I mean, you're going to see a lot of brands partnering together. There's actually
Mhm.
um, a nail polish company that's partnering with a handbag company. I mean,
Wow.
so you have to start thinking outside the box. I mean, if you weren't doing that before, you definitely have to start doing it. And
Yeah.
always be forward thinking. I mean, like I
Yeah.
said, never have. There's no such thing as a stupid question. There's no such thing as a stupid idea. Always
Mhm.
present it to your team and
Mhm.
talk it through, because something's going to come out of it. So that's why there is room for growth. I mean, if you weren't able to make it during, this awful year we've had, I mean, maybe you just need to change your thinking and bring your brand back in a different way.
Exactly. That's really great advice. I mean, you've given us so much already. We do have a few questions coming in. So one of our viewers asked, can a person who is not tech savvy be in marketing?
That's a great question. Yes, I think that everyone's able to add something to the creative process.
Mhm.
But I do think that if you're not tech savvy, I think at least you need to be knowledgeable about the digital world. So you may
Mhm.
not necessarily be a pro at, an Instagram or a Facebook, but you need to know about it. You need to know what kind of return you get when you
Mhm.
use those social media channels.
Mhm. Okay. Another question we have is, as a marketer, how do you see the future, based on these new ways? And you're saying, think outside the box. As a marketer, how does that affect you? Does it make your role more challenging?
Yes, it does make my role more challenging because, like I mentioned before, you're going to see a lot of different companies partner together. They
Mhm.
either may have nothing to do with each other, or there'd be, a really great fit. But,
Mhm.
us as a company, we have to think about how we're going to partner. We may
Mhm.
partner with a magazine to have an event so that readers
Mhm.
can come to our trade show.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we really have to think outside the box. We have to be budget conscious because of the year we've had. That's another
Mhm.
challenge. Um,
Mhm.
but this whole partnering, different brands partnering together is going to be one of those. It's going to become more popular.
Okay. Now, you've given us so much information tonight. What is one piece of advice or the biggest takeaway that you would want someone watching who's either interested in going into marketing or maybe just starting out in the career? What would you tell them?
My one biggest piece of advice. Well, if you are starting in the marketing field, and now that things are opening up, I'm trying to be forward thinking, and realizing that people are coming back to the office, and events will start taking place.
Mhm.
Go to every event. Put
Mhm.
yourself out there. Don't, I know work may end at 6 or 7. Try to
Mhm.
put an effort out and go to an event for a few hours, because at that event you can end up meeting mentors that would be very
Mhm.
helpful in the future, or another job opportunity. And sometimes we may shy away because we may be too shy,
Mhm.
or maybe there's something better. But I think any type of event that your work may put you to, may make you go, or an event that you're putting on for a client, it's
Mhm.
always just good to go and take advantage of those opportunities.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Susanna, for being with us tonight. You have given us so much really great insight. And I thank everyone for tuning in this evening. Again, please be sure to register by going to our website or downloading the app. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. If you're watching on Facebook or Twitter, be sure to like our page. And please tune in to our next show, which is going to be on June 30th. So please mark your calendars for that. Thank you, Susanna.
Thank you so
All
much.
right. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.